going to take from unit to I already sent them the message. Let me see the, yeah, I think at least they can see the.
Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear us?
Good morning, ma'am. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Hello. Madam, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, nice to see you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
कमी है उसका ना अरे उसका कट जाएगा 35 कट जाएगा हाँ 35 कट जाएगा मेल चला गया थैंक यू सो मच कैसे डॉक्टर है ये ठीक है ठीक
वहाँ पे वहीं पे नहीं यहाँ पे रेगुलेटर के पास में रेगुलेटर के पास
Welcome. Good morning, all. Can you all hear me?
Yeah,
Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. I want to thank you all the participants to come for this talk on BIG 21 No More series, which is organized by Venture Center, along with our collaborating partners, AIC ICER Pune Seed Foundation, Deshpande Startups Hubli, Karnataka, T.Y. Patil University Foundation for Innovation, Incubation and Entrepreneurship, based in Pune, EUA Center, Anna University, Chennai, Guwahati Biotech Park, Assam, IIT Madras Bioincubator from Chennai, and Visveswara National Institute of Technology from Nagpur. We also thank our outreach partners, Pune Knowledge Cluster and AIC Indian School of Business, Mohali. I'm glad that you are all interested in the Biotech Ignition Grant Scheme, which is a flagship program of BIRAC, which provides the right admixture of fuel and support to young startups and entrepreneurial individuals. BIG is the largest early-stage biotech funding program in India. The way the program is going to run today is that we are going to have welcome remarks by Bula from Guwahati Biotech Park, and it will be followed by the introduction to BIG scheme by Shalini from Venture Center. It will be followed by tips on grant writing from Dr. Meeta Saleh from Venture Center, the Bioincubation Manager. And we also will have our grantee, who has been a BIG grantee, about his experience on what are the pointers to success to crack the grant. So, and after that, we would have a quick picture and closing remarks from Dr. Abhay Kuthe from BNIT Nagpur, and then we will open up for the Q&A. I also encourage participants to use the chat box to ask their queries while the talk is going on, so we can address them at the end of the talk. With this, I request Dr. Bula Chaudhary to give the welcome remarks.
Thank you, Vallabhi. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. So thank you. Namaskar. This is Bula Chaudhary from Guwahati Biotech. On behalf of Guwahati Biotech Park, welcome you all in this webinar. This is BIG Biotechnology Ignition Grant, which is very helpful for the young entrepreneurs that we are observing from 2013-14 onwards. So this BIG grant, why this Venture Center has approached Guwahati Biotech Park, we are really thankful to you, because this is the first day when the second call is going to be released, and today itself we are organizing this this webinar. So with this webinar, when we are going to learn about how to write the proposal, what is BIG, and I believe the participants is going to get lots of help from you, the experts from Venture Center, how to write the proposal. And when these proposals will be screened, there also, I believe Venture Center and other incubation center is going to help you all before going your presentation. So this is really a good step from Venture Center, and of course, I must say that Guwahati Biotech Park role is also there. Here, I like to mention about a few words of Guwahati Biotech Park. This is established at Guwahati, North Guwahati, and recently we have shifted from IIT Guwahati to our permanent campus. We are having around 1 lakh square feet of laboratory space, and in this laboratory space, we are expecting more and more entrepreneurs to be associated with. we are running different programs. Startup Saturday also we are running from coming Saturday, from tomorrow itself. So we expect that you all please visit us, please see what we are having, where we have the expertise, and other experts are available in Venture Center and other incubation centers also. So without working in silos, we expect we should all come together, we should work together, then only we could grow. Of course, we understand that for BIG and other grant writing, we are not that expert, but we are now having the expert from Venture Center and other incubation center, so we could learn, and I expect that this webinar will be very much helpful for you all. And here again, I like to mention one thing. When you are applying for BIG grant, there is a point that you have to select where you are going to incubate after getting the BIG grant. So I must mention here that you can mention about Guwahati Biotech Park also if you are interested for this facility, where what we are having here. We can also give you an offer letter mentioning that if you are getting the grant, we will be giving you modular laboratory space at a certain user charges, and which is very nominal. So please be in touch, and this is what I like to mention here. And we have a very small team. Please work with us. I like to request Venture Center and other incubation center also. I can see other incubation centers also in this event. So please be in touch. We can work together. We can do better in this way. Over to you, Lavi. Thank you.
Thank you, Bula. I now request my colleague Shalini to start with the first talk of the day, which is on introduction to BIG. Shalini Singh is a specialist in funding programs at Venture Center, and she holds PhD in chemistry from University of Pune. She has done her postdoctoral training from RMIT University, Melbourne. Her research, which is 5+ years experience, includes work on synthesis and characterization on second and fourth compound semiconductor nanomaterials, which has various applications in the field of optoelectronic devices, biolabeling, etc. She is actively involved in the BIG program management, program promotion, creating awareness of science, entrepreneurship, management, and screening and reviewing of proposals, proposal due diligence, contract management, project monitoring, mentoring of grantees, and stakeholder relationships. I request Shalini to now start with her talk.
Thank you, Pallavi, and a very good morning to all our outreach and collaborators, and also the participant present today for this event. So as you all know that today the call for BIG is open until 16th of August.
Shalini, can you just make your screen full screen?
Yeah, just. Is it full screen now?
No.
Just 1 minute, I'm waiting for the full screen.
It's not yet full screen, but I think you can continue. That's okay. We can see this slides.
Is it? Yeah, now is it?
It isn't, but we can continue now. It's okay.
Okay, so just a brief about what is BIG. So as we all know, the Ministry of Science and Technology has a Department of Biotechnology under it, and which has led for non-for-profit company, which was established in March 2012.
I just wanted to let you know the screen hasn't changed to the second slide.
Okay. Okay, so under Ministry of Science and Technology comes the Department of Biotechnology, which has led non-for-profit company under Section 8, established in March 2012, that we all know as Biotechnology Industry Research Assistant Council. So under this BIRAC, there are various funding schemes, and one such scheme is Biotechnology Ignition Grant. So across India, we have total 8 partners who are implementing this program and helping with this grant program. So you can choose any one of the partner when you are applying for this scheme as a implementation partner. So the purpose for coming up with this scheme was basically to support your innovative ideas and to take them to the proof of concept stage. You can upscale and validate your proof of concept ideas and stimulate the enterprise formation, and of course to foster generation of ideas which are having commercialization potential. So apart from this, the grant gives you 50 lakhs grant in aid for 18 months time period, and it is eligible for both startups and individuals. So what are the highlights of this scheme? This is in the form of grant in aid, as I said. Royalty and tech transfer have been recently added from Call 16. You get to have mentoring, advisory, and referral support by your respective BIG partners you have chosen. You benefit from the learning, visibility, and networking events which are organized time to time by BIRAC as well as the BIG partners. And you get the opportunity to evaluate your ideas by the pool of experts we have. So they give their opinion, suggestions on the ideas, how to improvise on that. And if we see the scope of this scheme, in case you have technology objectives, you want to validate or establish the proof of concept, or you want to de-risk your technology, you want to demonstrate your scientific data to investors, you have your ideas which are having commercial potential, then this all is supported under the BIG scheme. Whereas if you want to do plain exploratory academic research, or you want to fund your PhD research, or there is no plan for any product or service coming up, or there is no novelty in your idea, or your idea is involving many clinical trials, or requires many ethical or EHS risk, or it is not having commercialization potential, then that is not supported under this scheme. So these are the broad areas when you are applying for the this scheme: healthcare, medical biotech, industrial biotech, agriculture, and others, which may be bio or IT interface, bioinformatics. Now these broad domains are now further divided into theme and sub-themes category. So if you're when you're applying for this proposal, you choose your ideas under diagnostic theme, then you will have to choose the sub-themes, whether it is for human, animals, plant. Similarly, if your idea is falling under drugs, then it has been divided into further sub-themes like drugs, vaccine, cytopharma. Whereas for agriculture, biopesticides, secondary agriculture, food processing, fisheries, and if it is falling under industrial biotech, then it could be sub-themes could be bioenergy, biofuels, clean energy, sanitization, waste management, clubbed with either this big data, data analytics, AI, ML, IoT, automation. So any idea falling under this can be supported under BIG scheme. So if we have a look of the process flow, like I said, the call is open right now, so it opens twice a year. So once the call is closed, there is one eligibility round where a eligibility check is done. And if you clear that, then there is a technical eligibility being done. Once you clear this round, your proposal is assigned to online reviewers. 5 reviewers will review the proposal and score you. On basis of that, the cutoff will be decided by the committee. And if you fall above the cutoff, you will be called for the presentation in front of the technical evaluation panel, where you will be facing the experts. And you have to give a 8-minute presentation. So again, the reviewers here will score you, and there will be final decision taken by the committee, and cutoff will be decided. And once you are selected for this BIG grant, a due diligence by your chosen partner will be done, and agreement signing followed by the release of first tranche. So typically this will take around 135 months and last two will take around 2 months. So it's a very long process with lot many rounds involved in it. So let me just give you a brief about the eligibility. So if you're applying as a startup, then make sure that 51% of capital is owned by a resident Indian citizen. The company is under 5 years old, and the company should have their functional R&D. If not, then you can get associated with any incubator, which is nearer to your location. And there has to be, you have to identify one committed project leader from your company who has to be a shareholder in the applicant company and will be responsible for all the technical and managerial aspects of the project. And he should have completed the basic graduation, which could be in any field. Whereas if you're applying as an individual, then you have to be an Indian citizen. For individual, it is mandatory that it get associated with an incubator. And he must have completed a basic graduation, which could be in any discipline. And he should be available full time to carry out all the project related work. So if you are coming from any organization, you must have the policies laid off for this faculty spin-off. So why an incubator? Or what is an incubator? Basically, incubator, as you all know, is a dedicated physical facility which will provide access to your scientific and mentoring and advisory support. And it must have a formal long-term approvals from executive heads of host institution or by BIRAC or by NSTDB. So applicants, whether faculty or students, cannot claim their own research labs as incubation space. So you should, whichever incubator you're choosing for this scheme should have a formal long-term approvals. And when you're applying, you will need to have a letter of intent from these incubators which you have chosen. And your chosen incubator may or may not be your BIG partner. So for example, if you're located in Pune and you are an individual, so you don't have your own space to carry out all the scientific work, so you can get incubated in Venture Center. They can provide you the letter of intent for the scheme. And also you can choose Venture Center as among from the overall 8 partners which I shown you. So you can choose your implementation partner also as Venture Center. But whereas if you are located, say, in Guwahati, so you can choose Guwahati Biotech Park as your incubator to carry out all your project work. And your implementation partners can be anyone from the 8 partners. The implementation partner is basically who will be reviewing your progress report, releasing the funds time to time, and monitoring your progress. Whereas incubator will be the space where you will be carrying out all your project scientific works. So how is the evaluation done? So I'll just tell you in brief, as my colleague Smita will be taking this in detail. So the evaluation by the experts is done on these parameters. So they will see what is the unmet need you are showing. Is it novel or not, which will carry around maximum 20 marks. Value proposition or differentiation will carry 20 marks. Your business plan will carry 15 marks. How technically viable this idea is carries the maximum marks, which is 30 marks. Team strength will carry 15 marks, whereas some marks are also allocated for how are you showing your strategy to overcome the challenges, which could be in regulatory, ethical, or IP. So, and how you have planned well your 18 months project with the given budget. So some quick tips and pointers. So if you're applying, then you must make sure that the project must have a proof of concept nature. Novelty has to be brought out. It should be technically feasible. You must check for IP barriers, or you have freedom to operate for this idea. Clarity about the business model and clear indication of PI commitment towards commercialization, and of course a credible and complete team which will make these goals achievable in 18 months and with the proposed budget. So in the proposal, when you're applying, you will have to make this milestone-based objectives. So you need to have a thought-through process, like what are you going to do in your 18 months time, which is divided into these 3 milestones. So this is just a sample which I'm showing, and accordingly you have to plan your targets and with the given end of activity. And the BIRAC has also laid some guidelines for the budget. So some heads are capped at 30%, like for equipments and these outsourcing services and your manpower. So make sure when you're planning your budget, you stick to the guidelines. So this is the success rate of BIG. So from all the calls, the applications have been increasing numerously. And if you see the last call, the 19th call, 700 applications were received, out of which 62 for venture center, and only 3 have got in principle approval. So it's a very competitive scheme. You need to plan well before applying, and you have to have all the thought process put in for all the evaluation parameters, the commercialization potentials, your team and your technical viability, emphasize on novelty while applying for this. Let me just show you some of the case studies which will help you in this. So this was Dr. Anuya Nisal, who is a scientist in NCL, who had applied for this BIG, and she got this grant, and now she's also has got the SIBRI grant further for trials and validation of her product, and she has come up with 3 products: Seriosis, which is for orthopedic, Serimat, which is for breast cancer, and Seridrum for advanced. So she has got going for now animal trials, and has even raised follow-on funding for other products. Like that was a scientist who came up for this entrepreneurship. There is one more individual, Shubham Singh, who was an individual while applying for this BIG grant. So basically his idea was to convert all the agriculture crop residue into material of packaging and furniture application. So in 2020, he got the BIG grant and also Millennium Alliance Award. Now he has his first decentralized facilities, and he has got many collaborators and also collaborators who are ready to work for this idea and raise further follow-on funding. So one more quick example is of Dr. Vaishali Kulkarni, who was a PhD student who completed her PhD and applied for this grant. Her idea was related to making this non-GMO sustainable natural biopigments for coloring dyes, where she got the BIG grant in 2018. Before that, she had also won various awards. After that, she has got BIRAC's Porsche grant, and she has also won L'Oreal Innovation Runway. And now she's been supported by various investors such as Chirate Ventures and Axelar Ventures. And recently in this Lakme Fashion Week, the color palette used by the designer was produced by this KB Calls company. These are the other success stories of our BIG grantees, and some of the grantees who have been come up on the social media coverage, or you must have seen this in the airport also, the Bharat Agri is poster, and few more example of our grantees on media coverage. And these are the products which are being developed by our grantees, and these products were recently launched in the Startup Biotech Expo, which was inaugurated by our Prime Minister. So this is our core team where I and Pallavi look after the applications and monitoring of this project, whereas the mentoring is done by Dr. Premnath and Dr. Smita, whereas the overall project and financial management is taken care by Dr. Manisha and Shruti. So I thank you all for your kind attention. Do connect us through WhatsApp or email us if you have any queries regarding this scheme, or you want mentoring, you need support how to apply for this grant. Thank you once again. Do connect on our social media handle. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shaka. The next topic is about grant writing. Writing a BIG grant is a very exhaustive and elaborate effort, and it requires some planning and strategy on how you're going to address the different evaluation criteria that Shalini mentioned. So the next speaker is Dr. Smita Kali. She's part of the incubation team, and she's manager bio-incubation at Venture Center. She facilitates incubator operations by interacting with incubatees, the infrastructure and facilities creation and development of the ecosystem. She's leading the bio-incubation activities, also BIRAC's Regional Bio-Innovation Center, BRPC projects at Venture Center. She's involved in mentoring startups at Venture Center. She's PhD in pharmaceutical chemistry from Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai. And prior to joining Venture Center, has had an academic experience of 12 years, which includes research experience of 3.6 years. I request Smita to please give the grant writing talk.
Thank you, Pallavi, for the kind introduction. Good morning, everyone. Let me share my screen first. Give me a second. Is it full screen for all of you?
Yeah, yes,
ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get started. So I'll be talking about how to effectively write a grant proposal, especially for BIG. So when we say a grant proposal, what do we mean is we are trying to prepare a document where we are compiling data and we are asking for funds for hiring people, manpower, some space, some equipment, and then we are justifying why do we need it. So before we actually start working on this document preparation, the first thing we all should do is read the scheme document guidelines very carefully. Why? Because we really need to understand what the funding agency is looking for, would be supporting, what is the eligibility criteria, and all these details. So we need to research the funding agency before we actually start working on this document. And this document is not only a technical document like a research project. Okay, this is beyond it. So BIG always supports ideas which have a commercialization potential. So we have to take that idea, that product from lab to market. So it's not only research, but it has a business angle to it. So the lesson here is we are kind of selling a dream. So we are very passionate about this idea. And when we are putting all that idea in a document, okay, we are writing it down, we are not getting a chance to actually go there and present. The first thing is we are going to submit a proposal. So that passion should come across through that document also. So we have to be very careful while we are preparing it. It is a dream which we are selling through that document. It's more of a marketing document rather than a research project or a technical document. It's a mix of both. So what is the funding agency looking for? What are their key questions? So the first thing is the goal. Okay. So what is the goal? So there is a goal which they have defined in their guidelines, and whether you are, serious about it, you have read it carefully, and then align your objectives as per the goal which they are going to support with their funds. That is the first thing. Next is what is the plan, execution methodology to achieve those objectives which you have laid down in your proposal. Have you carefully thought of what would be the activities required as your work plan to actually achieve those objectives? Have you carefully defined them, at very granular level, have you defined them or not? Or it's just that you are just proposing something which is very superficial. So that would not work. So here you need to be technical and you need to define all these activities will lead to achieving of these particular goals. So that is what would be seen. Next thing is credibility. Why you? Why you have that ability, capability to actually achieve these goals? So that credibility can come from your resume. What is your academic background, experience? What are your publications? Have you worked before on this idea? Not only you, but your team members too. Okay, so it's a team effort. So all this will add to credibility. Next is resonance. Do you really care for the money and time? So how your proposal resonates with whatever is being asked by the funding agency. So have you anticipated their questions and whether you have aligned your proposal accordingly? So by money and time, we mean that say BIG is for you get 50 lakhs over a period of 18 months. So whatever you have proposed in your action plan, can that be completed with 50 lakhs and within 18 months? So have you thought about it? In case, just to give you an example, if you're working on drug development and you say that, we will start with the lead optimization and maybe in 18 months, we would reach phase 1, which we all know is not possible in 18 months as well as with 50 lakhs. That means you have not thought about that, how that money can be carefully utilized. So that resonance needs to be there. Lastly, the resource needs. So whatever I explained right now, so whatever we are offering, if a funding agency is offering, and the budget which you are proposing, is there a fit there? Okay, whatever you are asking for is actually required to achieve that plan and goals and would fit and would resonate with the funding agency's guidelines. So these are some things the funding agency will look at, and you should also research the funding agency that what kind of projects have been supported till date, okay, how they have been doing, what they had proposed. So all this needs to be checked. So these are the TRL levels, technology readiness levels, which one needs to understand before applying for any funding agency grant, because they would have some eligibility criteria. I would request participants to kindly go on mute, please. Yeah. So TRL 1 means you're still at an idea stage. TRL 2 is when you have worked on that concept and you have some results to say that, okay, this works. TRL 3 is when you have more proof of concept. So we say POC. So when Shalini spoke that BIG is for idea as well as validating your POC. So that POC is proof of concept, which would come from the experiments which you perform to prove that your idea is going to work. More you perform your experiments, you repeat them, you check their reproducibility, you optimize the parameters. That's when you validate it in lab. Then you try to scale it up to maybe a pilot scale, a production scale. From your first prototype, you moved from alpha to beta, you get your functional prototype, a manufacturable prototype, and that's how you progress in these TRL levels. And you do clinical validation, you try to get all the regulatory approvals which are required, certifications to finally get it to market. So we need to understand that BIG is for early stage. So if you are at TRL 1 to 2 or 3, you are eligible to apply for BIG. Now let's look at the different sections which are there as part of the BIG proposal. So any proposal would ask you for a summary. Then there will be objectives which you need to define. And these are the different sections which we'll go through in the latest slides. So first, what we need to think about is summary. So summary has to talk about each of them, okay? All these components, the gist of it should be covered in your summary. And there is a concept note which will go as an attachment in your proposal. So in that concept note, you have a lot of freedom to include different kind of figures, diagrams, links maybe if you have for your videos. All that can be included here in the concept note, and this can be really elaborated. Whereas in summary, you really have to stick to one paragraph where you try to tell what problem you are working on, what is the unmet need, how you are proposing your solution, how that would solve this problem for masses, and at what stage you are, and with BIG, what are you trying to achieve. So all these sentences would form your summary. Then comes the objectives, okay? So objectives, we all know SMART, right? So that needs to be here. They need to be measurable. And so when you're defining your objectives, please think twice, thrice that what should be the objectives. So there would be milestones. You need to define 3 milestones over 18 years, 18 months period. So very carefully, we need to define those milestones and objectives here. So I'll talk more about it in later slides. So as I said, this is not only a technical proposal, but it's a marketing document. So you need to have a good story. So that storyline can be in any of these forms. So you may start as, this is an unmet need, which if solved will have this kind of enormous impact for this sector or for this condition. Or you might say that the solution lies in, and then you explain your solution. There would be people who have already worked on it. So you can then highlight that, people have tried this, but these are the shortcomings which still exist, and those could be overcome by our solution in this particular way. Or you might say that we propose to do this, whatever you are proposing, which will be different, how it will be different from whatever is already existing, and why you will be successful, and if you are successful, how it would solve the problem. So you can choose one of these lines to start your storyline and then build a storyline with all these sentences here. Yeah, now coming to the application part. So we first start with the title. Project title is very important because that title will help the team when you submit it, say to us or BIRAC, they'll have to segregate the applications as per the domains, right? So your title will help us understand in which domain you actually fall in. And the title should be very crisp. It cannot be a 3 to 4 lines title, okay? Title, try to keep it 1 line crisp. It should tell what is the technology or product you are making for what. So try to make your title very specific. That is what is required. It cannot be a very general title. Try to make it very specific. Then it would be other general details which would be required, like your name, who's the applicant, what is the incubator facility, who is your BIG partner. And below your title, you can have one clear definition of proof of concept, or what you are proposing. So you might say that to demonstrate proof of concept for, so what are you developing? That prototype you can mention. For what application, to be used by who would be your consumers and how they will benefit. So this long sentence can be a sentence below your title, but don't make this as your title, okay? Keep your title very crisp and specific, and highlight the values of features in quantitative terms like we have shown here. So there's one example I'll be taking later and I'll show you. So by prototype, we mean what prototype you are making, the product, device, whether it's a drug, okay, and highlight the category like here. Application, which disease condition, detecting what, or what would be the yield, who will be the consumer, B2B, B2C, and these could be the different consumers based on your sector, and how they will benefit. So say mention some numbers there, okay? So we'll take one example and explain it to you. So after you have defined your title and the clear statement of POC, then comes what problem you are solving. So why this problem? What is the large unmet need there? So explain the problem. Again, try to be quantitative there. Try to look at databases. Try to look at good references. If it's a drug, then refer WHO guidelines, NIH. Try to refer all these authorities and take the numbers from there. Then you might like to talk about what is the current standard. So it might be an incremental innovation you're working on. So what is currently being used by people to solve this particular problem? But what are the gaps there which you have identified, or the shortcomings, and which you are trying to address with your solution? So define the problem clearly. Try to use images wherever possible instead of making it very text heavy, because then reading all those paragraphs becomes really boring for any reviewer. So if you give, it could be only 4 sentences you're explaining the problem, but that should cover everything. And if there are numbers there, then it looks more authentic. And it also conveys a message to me that you have worked on it. You have looked at the actual numbers. You've taken that pain to look at all that data and then maybe define the problem very specifically. So here we are talking about a problem of diagnosing diabetes. So here you can see in this example that if as a BIG applicant, I am proposing in my application to develop a glucometer, which could be used by patients at home. And then the problem I should be defining here is not diabetes. Okay, I will start with diagnosis of diabetes. What is the problem? Otherwise, usually what happens, people write a big essay on diabetes, its prevalence, and how every other person is affected by diabetes. Don't waste your time and energy over there. Be specific, talk about the problems associated with diagnosis of diabetes. Okay, and then how are you going to solve it? So when you talk about the proposed solution, your product, please try to put an image. So this image will help me visualize that, okay, the product will look like this. So there is a digital display of the glucose being monitored, and there is a lancet here with which the patient needs to prick their finger, place a blood drop on a strip like this. So that means I need to buy these strips regularly, frequently, and then the strip goes inside this small device and that helps me detect the glucose levels. So this would give us a good picture of how the product can be used also. So the features are also getting explained here. This could be the one-time cost, but this is a recurring cost. So all this I get to know when I look at the image. So try to put an image. I understand that you might not have the image of your product ready, but you can make a diagram which can explain what all components it would have and how it would look like. So try to use images, flowcharts, and explain the product. So this is the product, okay? Proposed solution, I am explaining product, how it will be used by the customer. And the subsequent slide, I will talk about the technology. So in this example, if it's a glucometer, what is the sensor there? What technology I have used? How sensitive it is? How accurate it is? Whether it's only for screening or it's very sensitive, where people who have even diabetic complications can use it daily, or is it only for lifestyle management, or it's for clinical diagnosis? All that. So what is the technology exactly there, because of which I'm able to detect the glucose levels, very accurately? So all that would come here as when I explain the technology part. Next very important thing is novelty. So you, Shalini explained you about the weightage and the criteria, how the marking is done. So novelty, how will you explain novelty? So many a times people try to tell us that it's very affordable, cost effective, it's rapid, point of care. That's why it is novel. So kindly don't use all these terms. These are very subjective. So if you have already filed a patent or you are drafting a patent, in the patent we write certain claims, right, which are very technical, where we try to explain that maybe in this particular example, what is that sensor technology or the sensor made up of, because of which I am able to detect it. So here you need to use very technical terms and explain the novelty there. Novelty would also come from differentiation with others. So that is competitive landscape. We will talk about it. So the pointer here is clearly differentiate your claims from others. So there would be others who have filed patents around the same kind of products, glucose monitoring devices. Look at their patents, what freedom you have to operate, okay, and which could be your IP, and all that needs to be explained in the novelty. Next, novelty will also be judged based on how your competitors are doing, what kind of technologies they have, and how do you differentiate and what competitive edge you have over your competitors. So usually we tell that you kind of use this kind of a table where try to identify and list down the parameters against which you can compare your technology and competitors' technology. Then in this first column, you can have your technology, proposed technology, and subsequent columns, you can list the competitors here. And you can also mention the company's name and the country of origin, because sometimes they would be available in US, EU, but not in India. And then identify the parameters. So in my case, if it is diagnosis, accuracy, sensitivity, how much time it takes, what is the mode of execution, the price, whether it is available, all this would be the different parameters. And if you see here, wherever possible, like the time, I'm saying with my technology, I can do the detection in 30 minutes and competitor is taking 2 hours. So definitely I have a competitive edge there. That's my USP. So I need to highlight it in green and the competitor I'm highlighting in orange. Also, wherever possible, if you have competitive terms, instead of saying that, say price, low and high, instead of that, if you can tell yours is say 5x times lesser and competitor is 10x time higher, put those terms. Even if you don't have the exact price, use these kind of terms. So that's what we have explained over here. Use color coding. Don't use relative words like high, less, worse, better. Try to use quantitative terms as far as possible. Next, there would be some sections like they'll ask you what is the opportunity or what is the societal impact or market impact. So based on your problem which you're trying to solve, there would be some benefits for society and how the market would change. That is what you need to explain. What would be the market size? What is the big opportunity there with your product? There would be some challenges also, which you need to identify early because one needs to know the risk and know how can you overcome these risks. How can you do the risk management? What should be the alternate strategies if you have identified the risk? The risk could be related to regulatory, related to maybe getting the miniaturized product ready. All these, there could be technical risks, there could be non-technical risks, but you should have identified them. And then once identified, you must work on how these could be resolved or taken care of. Very important section is preliminary work done, and I'll talk more about it in later slides. Finally, what is your proposed end outcome? Whether you will be developing a product or offering a service, or this will be a technology which will be developed and then licensed to a bigger player for taking it to market. So we talked about preliminary work done, and there will be a slide on current status. So we really need to know, right, at what TRL level you are at now when you're applying. So you will say that current status, you might have done some literature survey, some preliminary studies. Maybe you have the version 1 of prototype ready. Whatever it is, with respect to your technology, you please mention that and mention your current TRL. Then you will mention what is your scope of BIG project. So with 50 lakhs and 18 months, what all you will complete. And there will be an end goal. End goal will be finally to reach the market, what you need to have. So here we see that we are asking for preliminary data. So why preliminary data is important? If you have done some experiments, then please include the data from the experiments because that will add to the credibility. It will give me confidence that, okay, this is doable, it is feasible, technically feasible, people have tried it, they have the right kind of facilities and manpower and expertise to do it, they understand it well, and that confidence would come from the results. And if you have any publications, please add that. Now, if you don't have, you have not done any experiments, then look at literature. There would be some literature evidence that this kind of technology has this potential, which people might have explored, but maybe they have not commercialized it, or they have just studied a part of it, which you are going to now explore and continue and develop further. So try to cite those examples from literature. but don't keep it totally blank. Try to do that homework very well and include it here. So then there will be other things which would be asked, like future plan of commercialization. So we have a slide here. I'll skip, maybe first show you that. So what do we mean by strategy for commercialization is, you will have a slide of this kind, or timeline slide, where you might show that at the end of BIG, 18 months, you might have your validated prototype ready. And then what would be the path ahead? Are you aware of the path? Have you thought of it that after the prototype is ready, you might have to do some more trials, clinical validation, field trials, scale it up, get some regulatory approvals to actually set up a manufacturing setup, or you might license it. To whom you will license it? Is there an expression of interest? Whom you all will collaborate with? And for all these, from where are you going to get your next round of funding? And tentatively, how long it would take for after BIG for the product to reach the market. So that's how you will explain how the commercialization needs to be done and timelines. Then comes the business model. So once you have defined the proposed strategy for commercialization, as the slide I showed you earlier, then you really need to clearly define who will be your customer, who will actually pay for the offering which you're offering, the service or the product or the technology. Okay. And how will you reach them? How will you approach them? What will be your go-to market strategy? Whether you will participate in conferences, or if they are FPOs, you will directly go and meet them, or you will make some samples, give them those samples to test. So what's your strategy to, going to the market? And other details would also be asked. And you can also look at the startups who are working in this space and how they have received investment, and all that can be added to this slide. So very important point again is, there will be a section on intellectual property. So in that case, if you have already filed a patent, please cite the number there. Make sure that the IP is owned by the PI or the company which is applying. If you have not filed for IP, try to do a prior art search and show that, okay, this is patentable. There is a freedom to operate. And you can take help of the IP phase at Venture Center, or there are patent agents who can help you do that. And please include that to your proposal. Now, last thing is defining the milestones and work plan, because that work plan will tell how serious you are about your proposal, how carefully you have thought about it. So there would be 3 milestones, M1, M2, M3, say for 6 months, 12 months, and 18 months. So these are the broader objectives which you will try to achieve. And there would be some activities you will perform based on which you will demonstrate that, okay, we have achieved those. So if you say we will purchase equipment, so equipment would be purchased, installed, that will be an indicator that you have achieved that milestone. And likewise, for each milestone and activity, you will have an indicator. Okay, so very carefully think about it. How many units you will manufacture? How many, say, if you say we will start clinical validation, if you can make it more specific, that say we'll start it at 1 center, if you can define the sample size. So for that, you need to first talk to regulatory, agencies and understand that what would be required for your product, and then include that over here. So finally, the grant end deliverables should be very specific, that by the end of the grant, I will have a prototype ready to detect the blood glucose level within 2 minutes with a limit of detection of say X milligram per ml at this much sensitivity and specificity. That means I am going to achieve, I have defined what I want to achieve. That means I will work towards it and I'll plan my studies accordingly. So again, this disbursement is first 30% you get, and then based on your milestone achievement. And very important part is budget. So budget and its justification. So please stick to the budget template as per BIRAC. Please follow all these caps. You cannot ask for more than 15 lakhs for equipment or the other things as said, and justify that what equipment, that equipment would be required for what activity or experiment. Same goes with consumables, manpower, what expertise they have and how they would contribute. space required, travel, IP. So have a proper justification for all the things you are asking for here in the budget. Now the most important part is team. So credibility would come from the team. Who is the PI? What is their background? So try to list there, add photos there, okay? Mention the name, current affiliation, their academic background, their years of experience, their area of expertise, and what would be their role in the project. Okay, like one person would be the project leader, one can be the technical lead, one could be a business mentor, so on and so forth. So in the team, there could be two parts. There would be a full-time team, and there would be some people who will contribute some time as advisors and mentors. So try to include details of advisors and mentors also along with team. So very important thing in the team is each one of you cannot be from the same background. Because for a business, we need people with different backgrounds. Someone who understands finance, someone who understands the technical details, someone who understands testing, regulatory, business. So have people with complementary skills to work together to achieve these goals. And same goes with advisors. You would have some technical advisors, some business advisors. So try to include all those details so a strong team has a chances of winning the proposal. And finally, I'll again reiterate on this, the weightage, which has been explained by Shalini. So you see that the weightage is highest for novelty and team. So please work carefully while you are developing these sections. You need to write, rewrite, and improve on your application. It's done. It's not that just 2 days before the deadline you will sit and complete it. Don't do that. Work on each section every day. Keep refining it. Do brainstorming within your team and try to improve it. And remember that scoring is not additive. Even if you fail in one of these, if they feel that it is not feasible or the team doesn't have the expertise, then the total proposal fails. Okay. So keep that in mind. So as I said, never give up. Keep writing. So there are people who have made it in their 4th and 5th attempt also, but they have not given up. They have carefully worked on the comments received from reviewers. They have worked on it and then improved their application and submitted it again. So even if your application is not successful in their 1st, 2nd, 3rd, whatever attempt, try to reach out to the funding agency, get to know why it has failed, what are the shortcomings, work on it and resubmit your application. So that's all from my side. We'll be happy to take some questions. You can contact Shalini, Pallavi for application, and these are our social media handles. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Snita.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
You want to ask questions, Dr. Abhay?
Yes. Am I permitted?
Yeah, we just had one more talk to go from the grantee. So after which we can take your questions.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So the next talk is by the BIG grantee, Nikhil Mamoria, Dr. Nikhil Mamoria. He's the founder and CEO of Genovo Bioinnovations. He's a clinician turned entrepreneur. He's MBBS and expert in clinical knowledge and leadership. He's a recent graduate from BJ Medical College, Pune, and Sachin General Hospitals. He has had leadership positions in representing state medical graduate doctors in Maharashtra. He's organized various state and national level cultural fests and academic conferences like Respire, and he's received appreciation letter from the former President of India, Srimati Pratibha Tai Patil, for his exceptional organizing skills. He likes analyzing clinical unmet needs to find economic solution. He shares a vision of making India competent with advanced healthcare devices to make technology accessible to everyone. He is also, a frontline COVID warrior during the pandemic times. So, Dr. Nikhil, I would request you to start your presentation. And once your presentation is done, I would request you to just stay for a few seconds so that we can have a picture with all the speakers and collaborators. Is that all right, or do you want to take a picture right away? Because you have a workshop to attend, I know. You're not audible.
Hello, am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning to one and all. I am Dr. Nikhil Mamoria. Thank you, Shalini ma'am, for the introduction. Ma'am, can you please enable the share screening?
Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I have made you the co-host. Please check.
First of all, I feel privileged to be the part of these talks to guide the budding entrepreneurs looking for the BIG grant. So I will be keeping this discussion crisp and brief, and I will be just talking about the pointers that help me to get this grant in a one go. So basically, grant is not an idea, it's a plan. Basically, you don't get a grant for an idea. You get a grant for an execution plan, like how you are going to execute that idea into a product. So these are the pointers that I'm going to talk about that helped me with my experience, it has helped me, and I hope it is going to help you as well. The first point is keep the title catchy so that it can create a curiosity among the reader, like what the person is trying to do, so that he can go through your pitch deck and the concept note. In this slide, I know there is no option for the pitch deck in BIG, but there is an option for the concept note. In the concept note, keep around 8 to 9 slides with pictures, flowcharts, illustrations that helps the person in front to understand it. Because nobody likes reading. All the BIG documents is just you have to write all the details about it. But if you can illustrate in a better way in those concept notes, it is going to be very helpful for you. Second, all the points what you're mentioning in your concept note should connect your storyline. Like it should connect like what is the root cause you are trying to solve, what is the impact it is going to create, and whom it is going to benefit. Also, what are the current alternatives and why the alternatives are not sufficient. All these points should be in a straight line and connecting the dots with each other. The next is have a clear-cut competitive landscape in a tabular form, as said by Smita ma'am also. So study your competitive, like what are the competitors in the market? What are the alternatives available? Mention down each and every point, whether it's cost, whether it's a feature, whether it's how it is doing, method of doing it, way of doing it. Next point is define a clear-cut milestones. Have a Gantt chart in the backup slide. Gantt chart is a pictorial depiction of like what you are going to do in upcoming 18 months. So you can mention the task, what are the time frame, and you can keep it in a backup slides. The next preliminary work done is very crucial. Show them the initial prototypes you have worked. Show them what you have done till now. What you are going to do next. So they need the data. All the government agencies that are funding, they need the basic what work till you guys have done till now. Next is quantify value proposition in numbers, like how your invention is going to help. Like it will increase this percentage in accuracy, whether it is decreasing the point, whether it's a point of care diagnostics, whether it is going to decrease the time being utilized for the diagnosis. And the main thing is work really hard on writing the grant proposal, and it should be grammatically correct and technological sound, because there are all the experts that are sitting, so you can't fool them around citing anything what you want. Then be persistent, because in this journey there are going to be many ups and downs. There may be a time when you don't qualify for this round, but you should be persistent if you want to pursue of starting a startup. Last but not the least, believe in yourself and your idea. If you have a belief in yourself and your idea, you are going to make it, whether this time or the next time, you are going to make it. So that's all for my pointers that has helped me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nikhil. Just unshare your screen, and I would request all the speakers and all the collaborators for this talk, Dr. Bula, Dr. Kuthe, Anand Sivraj, Dr. Raut, Sandeep Raut from Azhar, Dr. Swarda, and Dr. Sudha Lakshmi, to on their camera so we can take a quick picture. I request Lipika to kindly do the needful. I'll just also present on my screen. So Lipika?
Yes, good to go. I think let all the speakers come up first.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Shalini, Nikhil, Kula, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Kuldeep? Yeah.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
Smile, please, everybody. I'll just take one more shot. Yes, we are done. Thank you so much.
So I would like to take the question answers right now. So there are some on the chat as well. Abhay, you wanted to ask something before we go to the chat, you can answer your question.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes.
The thing is that I am writing this proposal since nearly 2016. Some other day I had gone up to the first round and then it was been refused once I have written it already. So I just wanted to know I have got some genuine ideas. I may be at a fault also. But is it possible that some personal guidance will be provided for writing the proposals? Like if you want, I can easily travel to Pune and come and sit with some person who can really help me in guiding where exactly I am going wrong, and so that I can have a better improvement every time.
Yeah, so that's possible. We do mentoring for building the BIG proposal. So you can just drop an email to us and we'll guide you how that can be done. So that can be done even online.
Okay.
So we have our ignition program under which we provide 4 to 5 mentoring sessions. And if you're interested, you can write to us. We'll provide you the details.
Okay. The same email ID, contact numbers, contact details.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
And share it again on chat box so that everybody can note down.
Yeah, please share it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we'll just go through the questions, the chat box from Dr. Amrita Kashyap. She's asking if the BIG grant is applicable for startups who already have a proof of concept.
So already have a proof of concept. In that case, you can say you want to maybe validate the proof of concept and make a prototype. So that would be your objective then while you're applying.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Then the next question is if I'm working by Dr. Jiten Bajaj, if I'm working in a government medical college, should I apply as a company or individual for the grant?
As an individual. You can apply as an individual. Those who don't have a company should apply as an individual. And there should be a commitment that you will be full-time. Once, if you get the grant, you will have to incorporate a company. And you will be full-time working with the company. Or you would have someone who would be leading it. Yeah, but you can apply right now as an individual. Yeah.
The next question is from Dr. Gurvesh Singh. They submitted their proposal earlier and after review by 5 experts, who scored 64 points, but a proposal was not selected. So score greater than 60 is selected for TP is not always followed. Shalini?
So, yeah, which question? Can you please repeat again?
So this is by Dr. Gurvesh Singh. The score, they have received a score of 64 in TEP, but score above 60 is not always followed, is what they're saying. So they're saying.
Yes, yes. So every call, the cutoff changes with respect to theme also. So yeah, 60 score is not followed. So every round will have different cutoffs.
Yeah. Then we answered Dr. Abhay's question on personal guidance. This is a question from Dr. Bula to Shalini that you mentioned about individual applicant for BIG to be full-time, not for profit. So if you can explain.
Yeah, non-for-profit means basically from those who are coming from academic institute. So they are eligible to apply for this, but they should have the policies led off for the formation of enterprise or startup. So there are many institute we have policies who are allowing the academicians or professor to form a startup. So that is the only eligibility thing, that they should be allowed to form a startup.
Next question is from Mr. Gautam Dandekar. Which technologies are eligible other than biotechnology projects? For example, can a sleep correction equipment therapy be eligible for, or will a state-of-art food cooking technology which improves productivity, saves electricity, cooking gas, water for commercial kitchens be eligible? Both are not being manufactured in India.
Yeah, so the first one, sleep correction equipment, a therapy device, yes, it is eligible, you can apply. So there are different domains which are supported. So
Yes.
not only core bio, but even energy, environment, where maybe there would be some biotransformation or some bio-related processes. So the other one also, the technology which you are mentioning, where a food cooking technology, it really depends on what is the process being used and the novelty in that technology and feasibility and the impact. So that would decide. So if you want clarity on it, if you have 2 to 3 ideas and you want to talk to us and then maybe select one and go ahead, so we can help you do that.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I'll be in touch with you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
The next question is from Iris and Biogenics. Our startup has just completed 5 years since the incorporation can be. So the cutoff given is there on the BIRAC flyer, talks about 2017 cutoff. So you have to see that.
It's more than 5 years, they would.
Yeah, so if it is more than 5 years, it won't. So if you can see it, the company needs to be incorporated on or after 1st of July 2017. That is the cutoff. You can see it in the flyer. Then Harish is asking if
Yes.
agri-tech and food tech startups can apply. Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Rishikesh is asking if he can apply with agri-tech idea to the SaaS platform. And I have my team at the ideation stage. We are at the and no companies formed. So will I fit an individual or startup?
Individual. You can apply as an individual and maybe we can talk about this particular idea, that what exactly you want to do and what would be the offering and for whom and how it would be helpful and how are you trying to do it differently from if people are already doing it. So once we discuss that, you can apply as an individual also.
Okay, I think that was the last question. I just find that there's another question from Sanjeev. I've attended the TP round for 2 times, and can I communicate with the TP members whom I had a disagreement with during the interview?
Yeah, so you can always connect with any mentors over LinkedIn and separately and try to talk to them, but we may not be able to facilitate this.
So those are all the questions. Does anybody have any questions right now and they want to ask? They can please raise their hands.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah.
Can you give some more information on the royalty part associated with the grant?
Yeah. So Shalini?
Yeah, so royalty in case, as in what information?
The royalty clause for BIG, the 5.
So it is 5% from the time that you may start making the sales of the product until you meet the grant amount that was given to you.
Until the 50 lakhs is returned.
Until
Yes.
50 lakhs or whatever, suppose somebody takes a grant amount which is less than 50 lakhs, say 35 lakhs, then you have to return until that amount is given back to
Once
buyback.
they start the sales.
Sales. Once they start the sales, yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that is after the sales.
That is started from for
Call 16, yeah, 16
call
onwards.
16. You can see that there are a few messages.
Hello. The thesis topic has been not sponsored.
No, PhD thesis research means research which has a potential for commercialization would be sponsored, but like we write grants to UGC to support the JRF and all, that is something which is not supported.
Okay, only it should have some commercial benefit. Then only you are.
Correct. It should have a plan, how you are going to take it to market after the
Okay, okay.
There are a few more messages. I'll just take that. Dr. Jitin Bajaj is asking, there are fees from Venture Center.
So fees, we do provide BIG mentoring. First session is always free. You can just come and talk and discuss your idea. But if you are looking at, 4 to 5 sessions with us, mentoring sessions specifically for your project, not a group discussion, then there is a ignition program where we would like you to enroll, and that would cost you somewhere ₹1,000 for a year. That's a 1-year program. And not only for this BIG call, but in that 1 year, whichever funding agency you are applying to, need not be only BIG. We do help you in mentoring and getting the right kind of proposal built. So that program you can, so the fees is ₹1,000 and you can write to us if you're interested.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. The next question is from Arun Kumar. Question is, if there is a technology in US, can my proposal be a slight modification of the existing technology in US or other countries?
So slight modification, but where would be the novelty, and if they already have an IP around it? So whether you have freedom to operate, all that needs to be checked. So what is that slight modification and what implications it would have, and application part of it, impact, the need, all this needs to be thought of.
Okay, the next question is from Rita, from Biotech. She's asking if, how many sessions are covered in the ignition program?
4 to 5 sessions. Yeah. So we don't exactly count that it is 4 and now we'll not give you one more session. But throughout the year, we do help you.
Yeah. So for further details, Gautam, on ignition program, it is there online as well.
Yes,
right? So you can go to our Venture Center website and look for ignition program, and you will find all the details there. They're up to date. Is the
both offline, online, both is possible.
Share the details with Dr. Sheila.
Maybe we can share with all the participants.
Yeah,
the details of ignition program.
Yeah, we can share. Yeah. So I would, you can continue writing questions on the chat box. I would request Dr. Abhay Gute to, give the closing remarks. Your voice isn't audible, Dr. Abhay.
Hello.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Sorry, what I'm supposed to do?
Am I audible, madam, now?
Yes,
Hello.
Dr. Gute, you're audible.
Yeah, thank you, madam. So at the end, I should say that thanks is a very small word to express gratitude to all those joined the event. The effort taken by Venture Center Pune to create the awareness about the big grant is praiseworthy. Thanks to all members of Venture Center associated with this event and management of Venture Center for conducting this event. Special thanks to Dr. Premnath. Thanks to Dr. Bula Chaudhary for the welcome remark. Very nice introduction by Dr. Shalini Singh for the introduction of the big grant and the guidance. Thank you, Shalini Madam. Great grant writing by Dr. Smita Kare was very informative. As grant writing is the first baby step in the big, we have to handle it carefully. The presentation by Dr. Smita made the complex thing very simple. Thanks to Dr. Smita Kare Madam, your last slide, rewrite again, passed a very important message to all of us. Dr. Nikhil Mamoria, thanks to him for the very nice and the quick presentation. Thanks to whom it would not have been rather possible to run this event. This is the first talk in the series of the talks that are arranged till 5th of August. I consider the success of today's event as a well beginning is half done. At last and not least, thanks to Dr. Pallavi Madam for nice conducting the today's session. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abhay. I would just like to say, as you said, this is a series of talks that we are running for since the call is open. So the next talk is on 8th of July, same time. And it is about patentability assessment and FTO. I encourage everybody to attend it because novelty is a very important section in the BIG grant writing. And so you get an idea, to understand if your technology or POC that you're planning is novel or not, or is it incremental, or which parts of it can you actually call as novel. So there would be great insights from my colleague, Dr. Purvashi Joshi, and she would, give insights on that. So please do attend that for next time. So those who have registered for this event, they will get the Zoom link for that event as well. So we are going to, ask everybody to join on that as well. So lastly, I want to thank all our collaborators across the country, Dr. Abula Chaudhary, Dr. Abhay Kuthe, Anand Sivraj, Dr. Raut from Pune, Azhar Yakundi from Deshpande's startups, and Dr. Swarda Piranwar. It was really good. We've seen that the circulation has been good in all your institutes. I also want to give especially thanks Sudha Lakshmi from EUA Anna University. She has also broadcasted it very well. And also our partners, AIC, ISB Mohali, Outreach Partners, and Pune Knowledge Center. So I hope we keep the momentum for the rest of the talk series also with your active participation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Pallavi.
Thank you.
Yeah, Pallavi, Shalini, Smita, thank you very much.
Yeah, and if anybody, we have the registration link where people have requested for mentoring. So we are going to do the application mentoring one-on-one for the interested candidates. So if there are anybody from your institutes who would want to connect with us, please do so over the email and we'll take it forward from there.
Awesome. Sure.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.